Hey, everybody. This is John Clayton. Welcome. We're going to have a really wonderful, spirited, fun hour now because we get to welcome one of the all time. I know people say that all the time, right? But truly, this man is one of the all time greats of the piano, of this music that we so love. He's an inspiration. He is a fantastic composer. He's written so many songs that now jazz players have to know, so they become sort of jazz standards. He's going to get into with us many of the people that he's worked with and a lot of the things that kind of comprise this fabulous piano player, originally from Philadelphia. But he'll get into all that, and so it's really a pleasure to welcome Kenny Barron, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey,
Hey, welcome, man.
all right. Thank you. Thank you.
Great to see you. So I am looking forward to this because I want this to be really the Kenny Barron hour where people who know you get to know you better, and people who don't know you find out what it is about this you, the fabulous person you are. And I kind of want to go down that road of some of the obvious things, background, etc. But
Yeah.
I thought I would kind of just flip it around, reverse it, and start with what's going on now. What's going on in your life now?
Not too much. I've been in the house. My wife and I talk about this.
Hmm.
I have been in the house now since last March, March 12th. And haven't been playing other than in the house. And
Mm.
a few little things now
Mhm.
are starting to come up with the live streaming and stuff like that. But I'm starting to cook
Nice.
and getting fat.
You and me both,
Fat,
man. It,
But I'm enjoying my time off actually. I get
okay.
a lot of quiet time. I'm up every morning at 5 o'clock, 5:30. But that's all the time. So I've been
That's
doing it for
great.
years. So I get
That's
up, have coffee, breakfast, read. Yeah. So
so you've always been an early riser.
yeah, I have been.
So
And
you say
drive
you're
life crazy.
you say that you're cooking. What are you cooking these days? What are you exploring?
Well, things that I know how to cook.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Such as.
yesterday I made spaghetti with
Uh-huh.
turkey sausage and stuff like that, and pot roast.
Uh-huh.
I've been making schnitzel.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Teach me
Yeah.
how to do that. So do you use veal or do you use pork?
I use chicken.
Chicken.
Yeah,
Okay.
very thin. I was very thin slices, beat it a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Egg,
Yeah.
flour, panko,
Okay.
and fry it. That's
Yeah.
it.
I'm doing it. I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
Kenny Barron Cookbook.
Ah, right.
That's your next album.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's go back actually. Let's go back. Tell us about your household, your neighborhood, your household, all that stuff that went into this man that we know as Kenny Barron.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Philadelphia, uh, in North Philadelphia, and I'm the youngest of five.
Hmm.
Um, and there's such a big difference between all my other siblings and me that I was almost like an only child. you know.
Wow.
So my brother Bill, who was also a musician, there's like 17 years difference
Wow.
between us. But that I mean that didn't affect our relationship. We started
Mhm.
playing together. When he found out I was taking lessons, he really because he for a long time he didn't know that I played.
Uh,
I was actually taking lessons from a neighbor across the street who taught Ray Bryant when he was a kid.
no kidding.
Yeah, yeah. So, but it was a great situation. Bill had all these great records, all 78s,
Huh.
Fats Navarro and Dexter Gordon, Wardell Gray. So
Mhm.
I would go down the basement and find these records and play them.
How old were you then?
I was about 10, 9 or 10, you know. And then I started taking lessons at the age of 6, actually, classical piano. And my first teacher was actually Bill's girlfriend at the time.
Hmm.
And then when we moved to where we in Montgomery Avenue, this lady lived across the street, Mrs. Reed, and found out that she taught Ray Bryant. So that was my next teacher. you know, and I didn't realize who Ray Bryant was because he was a friend. Actually, his family and my family, they're close friends.
No kidding.
And I actually think, and Ray told me this, that we were actually cousins by marriage.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So he told
Wow.
me that on a tour somewhere. you know.
No kidding.
Yeah, but Philly was a great situation. There were a lot of clubs, a lot of places you could work on your craft.
Who were some of the people that you grew up with that were artists at that time?
Uh, Sonny Fortune
Mm.
was around. There was a saxophone player named Jimmy Bass. Some of you may not know, but some of them stayed in Philadelphia. There was a bassist named Don Moore,
Mhm.
who's
Mm.
actually in New York now. Um, but yeah, it was just great. I had a little trio, and Buster was around. Buster Williams was around at that time,
Okay.
even though he's from Camden.
Mhm.
But we knew each other I guess since about 1958.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Huh.
and he just had a birthday, I think, just recently.
Yeah, okay.
But it was a close knit situation. So I used to play at a club called on South Street called I can't think of the name of it now, the Postal Card.
uh
And sometimes I would work there with Jimmy Heath, and with there was another saxophonist named Sam Reed who was popular around Philadelphia. So I used to play there with him sometimes. And then I had a little trio. I would play at a club on downtown called the Postal Card. No, I'm sorry, the Sahara Club Sahara. Club Sahara.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
who was and how old were you then, and who was in your trio?
I was about at that time I was about 16,
Wow.
and there was a drummer named Jerry Thomas who's passed away, and sometimes it was Don Moore. On
Mhm.
but I had a great time as a kid playing the music. I had a great time.
So that's amazing. I mean, so to hear you're drawn into it when you were 10 years old or thereabouts, and then by 16 you got your own trio working in jazz clubs in Philadelphia. What
Which I wasn't
happened
supposed to be in.
that you weren't supposed to be in?
Yeah.
I love it. So then, what was the next move? You stuck around Philadelphia until when?
Uh, let's see. I graduated from high school in 1960,
Mhm.
and I stayed around Philly, I guess, for about a year. And then I decided to. Bill was already in New York. My brother Bill, he was already in New York. So I said, I think I'm going to do that. You know, My mother was a little leery about, you know. Um, so what I did, my friend, the drummer, and I decided to go to New York to visit him, and he lived on East Sixth Street at the time in Lower East Side, East Village,
Mhm.
and it was a great neighborhood that he lived in. And
Mm.
picture this neighborhood, man, at East Sixth Street, 314 East Sixth Street.
Wow.
Over top of Bill lived Elvin Jones and Pepper Adams.
Woo.
They shared an
Woo.
apartment together.
Woo.
And across the street, a bunch of guys from Philly, Lee Morgan, Spanky DeBress, Reggie Workman,
Wow.
Tootie Heath. They
Whoa.
shared an apartment right across the street.
My God.
Two doors up was trumpet player Ted Curson and his wife. So it was a great neighborhood.
That was a great neighborhood.
Yeah, and I could walk to the Cloud, which is in the Jazz Gallery. It's a 3-minute walk to either one. So I got to hear a lot of great music,
Mhm.
and uh, actually some good things came out. I walked up to the flash spot, uh, and James Moody was playing,
Mm.
uh, and he knew Bill, so he said, "Come on, you want to sit in?" So I sat in. Yes, yeah, sure. I sat in, and when I came back to New York, he hired me. When I moved to New York, he hired me to work, and he had a great band. So that was
Wow.
my beginning in New York.
Now, who was in that band?
He had a great sextet. He had it was Tom McIntosh,
Mm,
trombone, Dave Burns playing trumpet. The drummer was Edgar Bateman,
mhm.
and the bass player was Steve Davis, who played with Train.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic.
What a great band. So that
Yeah,
was your first band in New York.
yeah, and most of the music was by Tom McIntosh, so it was kind of difficult. Not difficult, but wasn't
Mhm,
your run of the mill stuff. So
mhm,
very-
mhm. Any recordings of that?
I don't know. No,
No.
no, no. I don't think the band actually. There's a Moody recording, but that Tom kind of was involved in, but there are no recordings of that exact band. No,
Yeah, yeah.
no, no.
Just good memories. So now there you are working with Moody's band. Where did it go from there?
Well, I did some freelance stuff for a minute, just around New York. Worked with Lou Donaldson at the Five Spot, which was great. Oh wow, that was big fun. And one day, and then I got married, and moved to Brooklyn. But and I wasn't working, just. And one day I was just happened to be in the city in Manhattan, and I ran into Moody on Broadway, and he told me, he said, "Listen, they were working at Birdland. Dizzy's quintet was working at Birdland,
Mhm.
and he was telling me, he said, Lalo Schifrin is leaving the band. You think you'd be interested?" I said, yes, yes, I would be interested. Wasn't working, just got married, so I went down to Birdland to talk to Dizzy, and he hired me without hearing a note,
No kidding.
just on Moody's recommendation. So for me, that was one of the best schools I could ever go to.
Yeah.
And I was there for 4 years.
Wow.
4 years,
Wow.
yeah. First trip
So,
to Europe was with Dizzy. That was fantastic. So it
eh,
was a lot of experiences working with
mhm.
Dizzy.
Dizzy, was
Yeah.
he was a major teacher for a lot of people. Uh, what
Are you
kind of
frozen,
things?
John?
Yes, I'm talking, yeah. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Did you guys
Yeah,
lose?
you were frozen for a minute.
Okay, alright, I'm back.
Okay.
The challenges of this era.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not very skilled in technology. So
Yeah, nor am I. Jeez, I have to find a 14-year-old to explain it to me.
hey, same here.
Um, but I was gonna ask, now the time you were with Dizzy, what were some of the big takeaways from playing in that band? What you learned a lot, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
What what are some of the things that rise to the top?
Well, what are some simple things, like non-musical things, for instance?
Mm,
The I observed the way Dizzy treated people,
mm,
and he always treated people with respect, and courtesy, and kindness. He
mhm,
was that kind of
mhm,
person, you know. Uh, on the bandstand, uh, he was a band leader.
mm.
No
How
mistake.
so?
He was just a band leader. And I mean, not a tyrant, but he was
Okay.
the one who had the direction of the band. He formed the direction of the band. Uh, um, so this was a quintet that sounded almost like a big band.
Mm,
The arrangements were really, really tight.
mm,
Um, uh, Dizzy knew a lot about rhythms and things like that. And occasionally he would sit on the piano and show me some voicings and stuff like that. I remember one night, a couple of nights, we were playing, and there was a club here in New York. I can't remember the name of it now, but we were playing, and sometimes if the last set there weren't a lot of people, Dizzy would chase me from the piano,
oh, really?
and he would sit down and play with Moody and the rest of the band.
Uh-huh.
So he was very, very excellent when it came to voicing. I mean, he wasn't a hell of a soloist, but He was
Mhm.
great with voicings and things like that. And
Mm.
and I find that horn players who play the piano,
Mhm.
they seem to have an upper hand, kind of.
Mhm.
All of like Freddie Hubbard played great piano.
Mhm.
And some of that stuff he played on trumpet, he could actually play it on piano. you
Whoa.
know,
Wow.
yeah. So
So, that kinda leads me to an idea I was gonna ask you now. So, it's a statement and a question.
hmm
You teach.
yeah.
Why?
Well, in the beginning, because I was asked to, uh, and that was at the behest of Larry Ridley,
Mm.
who kind of started the jazz program at Rutgers University in New Jersey. So he asked me if I'd be interested, and I was a little hesitant. Excuse me. I was hesitant because when I was a kid, I was very shy,
Mhm.
and getting up in front of people and talking was the furthest thing from my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but one of the things I had to do uh, before I got this gig teaching was give a presentation to the provost,
Hmm.
and apparently it worked because I got the job. you know. And I was there for 25 years. But one of the things that happened is I met a lot of great young musicians.
Mm.
Your son among them, you know. But now that was at Manhattan. Yeah, I was at Manhattan School of Music. But when I
Manhattan.
was at Rutgers, people like Terrence Blanchard, who
Mm.
studied piano with me, who's a great pianist.
Mhm.
Saxophonist Harry Allen
Mhm.
also studied piano with me. You know, um, Ralph Peterson, who just recently passed away,
Yeah.
was there. He was started there as a trumpet player, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry, let me just step my
Most
throat.
people don't know that.
Harry Pickens. I don't know if you know him.
Yes,
Yeah,
Indiana.
yeah,
Mhm.
he was a student there. So
Oh.
I feel very and Regina Bell.
Oh,
Was,
really?
yeah, she studying piano with me. So hopefully had some sort of impact or
Oh,
influence
you did. You
on
did.
the young, and that felt good to know that.
Yeah. Mhm.
That I, in some small way, I had something to do with shaping them.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well,
very
I
happy.
know from my son's experience with you that you had a very big influence on him, and your playing had an influence on me, I'll have you know.
Oh, get out of
Uh,
here.
I've transcribed some of your solos that were just beautiful and intriguing. I mean, I said, now that is just, how does he do that? So I'd have to just get the record, play it over and over and over, figure it out note by note, and then I could go, okay, so I have to thank you. I guess I owe you for some lessons
uh, well, it's cheap.
because
So,
I'll make you a meal instead. But
hey, I'm down for that.
but I know also Gerald used to tell me about some of the lessons with you that he was so excited about, uh,
Mm.
and
Well, actually, the
that's
first time I heard Gerald was actually in L.A.
mhm,
in talking about coming to New York, and during the lessons, one of the things he was he was a straight ahead player.
mhm.
Just straight ahead. And years later, after he left, I hear some of the stuff he's doing, and I love it.
Oh, good.
I love it. Now I want to take lessons with him. Oh,
I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
yeah, because he's got some great ideas, and his writing is really beautiful. Writing is really beautiful. So,
Oh, wow.
but
So
I'll get to hear him again.
yeah, you will. Well, people ask me if I'm proud of him, and every parent is proud of their child, but
Uh,
I'm happy, more happy than I am proud, because he's happy because he's found something that he's really into,
yeah,
and
yeah,
as you know, uh, if your kid's happy, you're happy. If
you're
they're
happy.
if they're suffering, you suffer.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Just
true. Yeah,
just the way it goes. But
yeah.
so, um, which makes me wonder, there is for everybody at least one influential teacher. Who was that influential teacher for you that really seemed to spur you on and get you excited? And then the others too, but who start with the one?
Um, well, honestly, I guess there was nobody when I was young. It was just lessons, but an influential person, probably one of the most, was Yusef Lateef.
Ah,
And so that was many years later. But he was really influential on his personality was his he was honest to a fault.
hmm,
And you could believe it. Whatever he said, you could believe it.
hmm,
You know, but I had when I was in his band, it was me and Bob Cunningham and Tootie Heath.
hmm.
Uh, he encouraged all of us to go back to school.
Really?
And, yeah, and we did. At
Yeah.
one point, the whole band was going to Manhattan Community College.
No kidding. Was
Yeah,
he teaching there? Was he teaching
he
there?
was teaching there. We all had a class with him. I was composition class. I even studied flute with him for a minute. But we had a composition class, and that was probably one of the most influential things. I was in the class. Tootie, Bob Cunningham, and Donny Hathaway
No kidding.
was in the class. Yeah, and Yusuf wanted everybody to write a large work that didn't involve, through composed.
Mhm, mhm,
So he didn't want a lot of improvisation.
mhm,
So I wrote a string quartet,
mm.
and this was the first effort. Uh, and after doing all of this work, and I think Bob Cunningham wrote a woodwind quintet or something like a brass quintet. So
Uh-huh.
everybody wrote this big, everybody wrote these big pieces, and we wanted to hear them. We
Mhm.
wanted to do that. So there was an orchestra in New York at the time called Symphony of the New World. So, and a lot of them were studio musicians. So we knew some of them.
Yeah.
So actually hired them to play our pieces. And we gave a concert at State University of New York Graduate Center, which was on 6th Avenue and 42nd Street at the time.
Wow.
So for me, that was a thrill, and as it was, I think, for everybody, to hear their music played back. And
Absolutely.
again, this was the first effort. I had never ever written for string before.
Wow. Wow.
So that was a very, for me, very profound. I don't know how good it was, you know, um, but it
Wow.
sounded all right. It sounded, I
Mhm.
mean, now that I listen back, and I've listened back to it, and I mean, this is years ago,
Yeah.
and it was okay. I feel like I could do it again. And I actually, many years later, did have an opportunity to do a string trio, as a
Mhm.
commission, actually.
Mhm.
So, but Yusuf was the one who encouraged me to do that and encouraged everybody. And also in the band, Yusuf was very great about playing my music. If I wrote a composition, let's try it, let's play it. You
That's
know,
so great.
so that was one of the most encouraging things in the world for me.
Mhm.
You know, uh, it was totally different from working with Dizzy.
Mhm.
Working with Yusuf was the music was a little bit more experimental, so I
Mm.
learned a lot in that respect.
Mhm.
I think if playing with you could play with your feet, it would be okay. You know, Yusuf thing was just be on time. That was it.
Okay.
He was really be on time and no drugs. That was his thing.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
so he was and the same thing. The way he treated people, he treated
Mhm.
people with a great deal of respect.
That's fascinating. I never knew that. And Yusuf pretty much stayed in Detroit, didn't he? I don't think I ever saw him touring.
No, we used to tour a lot, and actually
Mhm.
lived in Brooklyn for a long time.
Okay.
You know,
And
and he started teaching at Amherst up in Massachusetts.
okay.
Then he moved up there. You
Wow.
know,
Okay.
so,
I'm wrong
but
about that.
yeah, but he lived in New York for a long time. But I think mostly in Brooklyn.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, but he He was great. He was great.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
I remember I think of Yusef, and I remember, well, a bunch of things he did, including the things with Dizzy, but, there's one song he did called "The Poor Fisherman." Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
that brings a tear to my eye. I could just it milks my heart every time I hear that. I can just hear him, you know, just crying the blues.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's intense. I guess he overdubbed himself on flutes on that one,
Probably,
on
but
the recording.
later on, he got Tootie
Oh,
to play flute on that. So together,
no
on
kidding.
wooden flute.
Right.
Yeah. So the two of them would do that as a duet,
Oh,
and it was great. It was really great.
I'm gonna listen back to the recording because did they do that on the recording? Do you know?
I don't think we did it on record. I know we did it live. We did it live.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Was there a story behind that song? The poor
I never heard a story behind it,
Okay.
but it
So
sounds like there ought to be one.
yeah, probably. So, talking about composition, what is your composition method? I mean, you've written so many tunes that, I was telling the people that, um, your songs are so popular that really uh, many of them have become jazz standards for today's jazz musician. You got to learn Seascape, you got to learn, Cook's Bay, you got to learn, and all those other things you've done, Scratch, Illusion, and the Slow Lane, the Prayer, and on and on and on. What's your composition method when you get ready to write a tune?
I don't know. It depends on what's happening. If I'm writing for a particular project, it's a little more intense. So
Mm,
I'll just spend time at the piano. You know, I'll just spend time at the piano. I did uh, music for a film, which
oh,
they didn't use, but it's okay.
uh-huh.
Uh, but that was a great experience. Because
Mm,
this guy was a film with Ernest Borgnine and Doris Roberts.
wow.
You know, so I did a lot of so that was really concentrated. Okay, I got to have this music.
Yeah.
So that's one way of composing.
So
Just
yeah, so you had a
so
deadline for that
the
one.
deadline, yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of the things I've written for my own projects have just come about by just sometimes just noodling
Mm,
at the piano. You
mm,
know,
mhm.
uh, for just finding an idea and trying to develop it. But it's hard for me to it's hard for me to say, oh, even though I did it, but
Right.
it's very difficult to say, okay, it's 5 o'clock or it's 8 o'clock. I got to write now.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing. I mean, whatever comes out, I don't usually like it.
Well, that's interesting. So so do you take that whatever it is that you're not crazy about at the moment and just develop it?
Sometimes you can do that, yeah,
Mhm.
because you listen back to it sometime later, and it's got a different. Oh, okay, I can use this,
Uh-huh.
this part of it or whatever. So yeah, you can develop things. I should have gotten into the habit a long time ago of actually just recording things, ideas. Yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
because what would happen with me sometimes is that I would find something at the piano. So, oh yeah, I like that. I like that. And then I leave and go do something and forget it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. I totally relate to that.
Yeah. So I had this little device uh, uh, called a QY20 or something. It
Hmm.
was like the size of a cassette,
Uh-huh.
but it was like a little mini recording studio, and you
Okay.
make it to a MIDI keyboard. And I would take that on the road with me, and I wrote a lot of music doing that because it had a lot of different sounds in it. And it was very, like I said, it was very very small.
Ah.
You know, so that was one way I started writing using something like that.
Mhm, mhm.
So now I have a clavinova, a Yamaha clavinova that I use sometimes, and
Wow.
then acts as a recording studio. You can overdub and stuff like that.
Wow, fascinating. And then do you find that, that you end up writing the melody and then the accompaniment, or do you come up on some chord changes or whatever and then write a melody on top of that?
Usually it's harmony
Hmm.
first, or bass line or something like that. Very rarely do I come up with a melody independently of anything.
Right,
You just if I come up with a melody, there's harmony with it somewhere.
right,
Now, that
right.
can change. The harmony can change. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So, but
That's nice.
again, I'm influenced a lot by some of the young people who are writing now. They're doing some really amazing stuff for me. To me,
Yeah, I agree. I so
yeah.
agree.
So
I so agree. Yeah, it's very inspiring.
yeah.
um, and just thinking about all the great recordings you've made, the great people you played with. A few, I mean, there are many that jump to the surface, including Sphere. I'd like
Ah,
to hear how did that come about? I love that group.
ah,
Well,
I
you
did.
already said that you and Buster go back from to when you were kids.
Yeah, yeah. We used to call each other teenager because we're yeah, wow.
There you go. There you go.
A doo-wop pose.
But you adapt. You looking dap.
um, we had a trio. Well, one the Buster, Ben, and myself played with Ron,
Hmm.
and then the bass in the band with Ryan. Well, Ryan played piccolo bass. So when that band broke up, uh, we worked as a trio,
Okay.
and we worked as a rhythm section for different people who would come to New York, like Lockjaw and Sweets would come
Yeah.
in town. So and we'd be their rhythm section, or Eddie Harris,
Uh-huh.
we would be their rhythm section. So we were just talking, shooting the breeze, and said, "Why don't we just get a horn player and form a band?" You
Huh.
know, and it was Ben actually who suggested Charlie Rouse.
Ah.
Said he had just heard him, and he sounded really good.
Mhm.
So we put together a gig at a club on the west side, 72nd Street.
Mm.
That was open briefly, and it felt really great. It felt
Yeah.
really good. So we brainstormed some more and said, "Listen, we got two guys in the band who played with Monk."
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
so we decided that our first project, which we paid for ourselves,
Wow.
our first project would be playing Monk's music. And at this time, Monk was he was sick. He was living with the Baroness, but he wouldn't get out of bed.
Mhm.
So our hope was that in recording this music, he might feel inspired to get out of bed, or.
Wow.
But anyway, one of the things we did, we wanted to make sure that his publishing company would get the money, whatever money there was. So
Mm.
we met with uh, uh, Nelly and Toot Monk and Don Sickler, who was actually handling his publishing company, to make sure that we recorded things that were in his company.
Mm.
So that's one of the things we did. And we recorded, it was in February. I don't remember the exact date, but it was sometime in February.
Mhm.
And it took us maybe uh, 6 hours,
That's
because,
amazing.
I've never been a big fan of recording for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. I'm with you.
You know,
I'm with you. Or
most
the
of the
other one, you probably experienced like I have, you do a take of a song, you finish, and then the producer or whoever comes on the mic on the loudspeaker and says, "Wow, that was a really great take. I loved it. Let's do another one."
let's do another one.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
you can
like, "Damn, you mean the reward for doing my best is I have to do it
do
again?"
it again. Yeah, and you can't because you're
No.
competing with yourself. But anyway,
Yeah. Anyway.
we did this record, and uh, oddly enough, on the way home, I was driving Buster home. We did it at Rudy Van Gelder's in New Jersey. So on the way home, turned on the jazz station, and they announced that Monk had died that morning as we
Oh,
were recording uh,
wow.
his music.
Wow.
So we named the band Sphere,
Hmm.
Now, I had no idea that it was actually his middle name. I
Mhm.
mean, this is all prior to the recording. We still
Mhm.
called the band Sphere. I said, "Well, what about Circle?" There was already a band called Circle with Chick Corea, I think.
Right.
So then I said, "Well, what about Sphere?" And then they said, "That's Monk's middle name." Hmm. Yes.
No.
Yeah. So that's how the band came about, and and actually the band wasn't intended to be a Monk tribute,
Mhm.
but we were always going to play his music.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, we were
Yeah.
always going to do that. So I think we came up with some, I think nice arrangements, unique arrangements of his music.
Yep.
But one of the things we wanted to retain, there was a certain ensemble sound that
Mhm.
Monk had uh, in all of his groups. He always played the melody with the
Mhm.
horn player.
Mhm.
Not
Mhm.
always, but most of the time, he played the
Yep.
melody with the horn player.
That's
So
right.
that's the things we tried to just capture that sound,
Uh,
you know. And the idea of playing like Monk, I mean, I couldn't do that. So it'd be silly
uh-huh.
to play like Monk unless it was done like tongue in cheek,
Right, yeah.
you know.
You don't wanna do that.
Yeah, yeah. So we had our, I think we put our own spin on his music, and we did some of our own compositions as well, you
You
know.
did.
Yeah, and then actually our very last record with Rouse, we did all Charlie Parker's music uh,
Uh-huh.
called Bird Songs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Remember
but
that.
that's how the band, and it was a cooperative band, So there was no leader.
Mhm.
There was no leader. Everybody knew what everybody was making.
Mhm. Mhm.
And Buster was responsible for this. I was responsible for that.
Mhm.
So it kind of worked. Kind of worked.
Wow. It
Yeah.
did. That's what a great lesson, and what a great, um, basis for putting together an ensemble that you are have a focus of someone that you would like to honor, even though you're your own sound, your own thing.
Yeah. Mm.
You're influenced by the idea of paying homage to this person, and then to hear, I mean, I got goosebumps when you told that story, to hear that he had passed away while you were recording his music on your first recording.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's some Twilight Zone stuff there.
But
Beautiful.
yeah, the group was it was very successful for a while. The first gig we had it was at there was a place called it was in the village. I can't remember the name of it now. Lush Life.
Oh, uh-huh. Yeah.
That was the first gig,
Ah.
and uh, it was actually sold out.
Oh, that's
But
great. The first gig was sold out?
yeah,
Whew.
what are they going to do? Because there was some publicity beforehand,
Mhm.
you know. So everybody's, well, what are these guys going to do?
Mhm, mhm.
But we didn't play like Monk,
Yeah, right.
you
No,
know.
you didn't.
Yeah, so it worked. It worked. We
Absolutely.
did
Yeah,
a couple of
so,
great tours.
I mean, what a fantastic band. At some point, I don't know if it was, I think was it after that that you hooked up with Stan Getz, or before?
It was after that.
After that. How
Yeah,
did that come about? I know that there was.
I don't know how actually, but
Mm,
I took Chick Corea's place in the band. I guess we called it the Captain Marvel band.
right.
So there was Stanley Clark and Tony Williams,
Mhm.
and they were playing all of Chick's music. So I got the call to do that, and it was a very short tour in the states. We played. I think we played and in Raleigh, North Carolina,
Mhm.
and we played in Baltimore and a few other places. But it was a short tour. But I love playing, with him, and it was great playing with Tony and Stanley Clark. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
it was really great, and
Now
we did.
you stuck with him for a while, because I remember hearing after that, I remember hearing you with George Mraz,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and who was on drums?
Well, there was several different incarnations. I
Yeah.
know he took a because I didn't see him. I didn't hear from him for a while after this tour. And then he took a teaching position at Stanford University.
Stan Getz
And
did?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, he was artist in residence. So he started calling me, and I would come out there and play. Excuse me. So I think it was George, might have been Al Foster
uh-huh.
uh, for a while. Yeah, Al Foster. You know.
And then at some point, did you and George, as a result of that, hook up? Is that how that came to be? Because I know you played more with George in separate situations.
Yeah, we did. We did. Yeah, and I love playing with George. I haven't talked to him in a while. I don't know. I hope he's okay.
Yeah,
You know.
me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
but I love playing with George. Rufus was a bass player for a while. Rufus and
Yes.
Victor Lewis.
I heard you with Stan and Rufus. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was in Europe. Right.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you with that. I forgot about
Probably.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And then Ben Riley. The last time he was the last drummer.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah. You know. Of
Wow.
course, and
You know,
died.
you sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. 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 It's
I
okay.
was gonna ask you, because you mentioned someone, um, who was also dear to my heart, Mulgrew Miller. So
Oh.
you met him, as you mentioned, on that, when he was playing with which band?
Oh, Mercer. Mercer
Mercer
Ellington.
Ellington's band,
Yeah.
yes. So tell me what was your relationship with Mulgrew and your thoughts about him too?
Oh, I love Mulgrew. It's a gentle giant. You know, he
Mm,
was such a sweet human being. You know,
yeah.
but his sense of harmony was so far ahead. Sense of harmony and his technique, and it was just incredible. You know,
Mm,
so eventually we started talking about doing some duo stuff. You
yeah.
know, so we hooked it up. I don't know how. Remember how we did that? But we did a gig at Bradley's in New York,
Wow.
and they brought in another because they already had a grand. They brought in another grand piano, and that's we said, oh yeah, this could work. you
Mm.
Because sometimes I couldn't play for listening to him. you know,
I'm
you know,
sure that was the other way around too.
yeah, so incredible, man. So and we did several European tours as a duo, and then sometimes with three or four pianos.
Mm,
Uh, I think Gerald might have done one of those. I'm not sure in Europe. Uh,
uh-huh.
Eric Reed.
Mm.
We did one tour during the Music of Monk. It was four pianos, four pianos.
Oh.
Only two on the stage though. You know.
Uh-huh.
Um, but one time we did a gig in Greece with the rhythm section,
Mm.
two pianos and rhythm. That was so much fun. It was Ben Riley and Ray Drummond.
Whoa.
You know, so much fun, man. But every time I got a chance to play with Mulgrew, I learned something. I learned something. And the repertoire, I stole something from him. Every chance I got. He was just such an incredible player. And
Oh, God.
I love being around him. I love being around him.
Yep, yep.
You know.
Tell me, so you kind of touched on a little bit of a situation that you were involved in with other piano players in Japan. I'm talking about the 100 golden fingers
Oh
concept.
yeah,
So I thought that might be kind of fun to mess around with. So tell me,
yeah.
if you could put together 10 piano players that you would love to see on stage together, it would be Kenny Barron's 100 golden fingers. Living or dead, who would be in that group?
Living or dead?
Living or dead, yes.
Well, certainly Mulgrew.
Uh-huh.
Mulgrew. Well, I actually look back to the very first tour of 100 Gold Fingers. There was my idol, Tommy Flanagan, was on it.
Ah.
Hank Jones,
Mm.
uh, Cedar Walton,
Mm-hmm.
Roger Kellaway,
Mm.
Ray Bryant, Junior Lance, Lynn Ariel,
Mm-hmm.
Monty Alexander,
Mm-hmm.
and we had, I'm forgetting somebody, Harold Mayburn,
Hell, uh-huh.
but we had
Wow.
such a great time, man, and
Uh,
no egos,
no egos.
no egos, man, and Hank Jones Hank was like the acknowledged master. So whenever Hank was on, everybody was right there checking him out. And Harold Mayburn had a nickname for him, called him Bad Henry. Bad
Bad.
Henry, because Hank was just incredible. He
Mm.
was incredible.
So what made Hank so incredible? What things made all of you piano players go, woo?
Well, Hank had this elegance about him in his playing. He had this elegance about him, and the way he moved his chords and things. It was just so. That's the best word I can describe. The best word I can
Mm.
describe is elegant.
Mm-hmm.
It was so effortless and just perfect. Not perfect, but
Mm-hmm.
that's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, elegant.
And the way he would play his lines, just like silk,
Mm.
just like silk.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to do that. And Tommy was also one of my favorites. Also, Tommy
Mm.
was actually my biggest influence.
Mm.
I heard him when I was in junior high school. First time I heard Tommy on a record, Sonny Rollins record. Where they
Mm-hmm.
do uh, St. Thomas, You Don't Know What Love Is, and I said, who is that? You know,
And
that's
you were in junior high school
that was
when
high school. I heard
in
that.
high school.
That's so I want to play like that. You know.
Wow. So I'm gonna talk about you to your face. You have a well-earned reputation for, I don't know if I think I would call it uh, touch appropriate. So when people hear you play, your touch is always perfect for the situation, whether it is accompanying a singer, whether it's really firing up the rhythm section, firing up the band, and I'll tell you what Gerald told me in a minute, but I want to hear who were the people that really influenced your touch at the piano?
Tommy,
Tommy.
yeah, but also I also listened a lot to McCoy and people like that. So if the music called for this, if I'm playing with a singer,
Mhm.
you don't want to get in the way.
Mm.
So and you want to play lighter. So and if you're playing a ballad as well, that's calls for something lighter.
Mm.
If you're playing with fiery horn players, then you don't want to use such a light touch. You want to,
Dig in.
yeah, you have some energy behind it. So, I mean, that's
Mhm.
the difference for me. It all depends on
Mhm.
who you're playing with, the situation, what the situation calls for.
Mm.
You
Mhm.
know, man, I could sit and play ballads all night. I love playing ballads. You know,
Wow.
but sometimes, if you're playing again, you're playing with somebody who's really fiery,
Mhm.
you need to do that.
Mm.
That's going to make it work.
Absolutely.
And I'm a big believer in helping to make the band work.
Mm.
That's important. Helping to
Abs
make the band work. You
Yeah.
know.
That's a really selfless, important way of connecting yourself to the music,
Yeah.
understanding, like you said, hey, I'm a team member, I'm a component to this, and we're all in this together to make the music.
Yeah. That's my interest. Make the
Hmm.
music work.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing Clayton Brothers Quintet
Hmm.
at I think it was at the Dizzy's,
Hmm. Could it be? It
and
probably was.
that's the feeling I got from
Uh-huh.
that band.
Yeah.
It was just there was a lot of joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I remember from that. There was a lot of joy, and it was fun, and I love listening to that band. Yeah,
Thank you.
love listening to that band.
Thank you. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a lot of fun to play.
yeah,
So what what you're saying about touch and firing up the band, or kind of backing off on singers and everything, reminds me of what Gerald came home explaining to me you had him do in one of his lessons with you. um, he said that you played something on the piano. First he played, and then you played something on the piano, and he had to learn or imitate, or somehow put his feet in the shoes of the way you were doing it, in terms of the sound you were
mm,
getting from the piano.
mm,
And he will always remember that lesson, those lessons, I should say,
mm.
because you affected his touch.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, he knows how to get that same kind of thing that you do, where it's really velvety and smooth, etc. So, he and I thank you for that. And he also said that sometimes you guys would trade eights or choruses,
yeah, yeah.
and he said, I always ran out of ideas. Kenny Barron never ran out of ideas.
That's not really true.
Well, that's the way he tells it.
Yeah, yeah. I run out of ideas a lot now.
They're there, though.
Yeah.
So if I'm studying with Kenny Barron, what will I end up working on?
Um. Well, the regular. I do a lot of songs from things from the American Songbook. It depends on what level. I mean, if I'm taking a student, uh, not a beginner, but someone young,
Yeah.
I think the best way to learn the language is through songs,
Hmm.
the American Songbook. I mean, when you graduate, you can do whatever you want,
Right.
but to learn the language, to learn how to connect phrases and chords, and this chord goes over that,
Mhm.
or not. You know,
Yeah.
I do encourage people to take chances. People take chances. And if somebody does something that's, you may say, "Oh, that's wrong." No, it's not wrong.
Uh-huh.
It's not wrong. Do something with that note.
Mm.
You know, um, so I mean, that's what we work on. You
Mhm.
know, and also one of the things that Aaron Parks was a student of mine also, and he was very much into writing. When he was 16 years old when he came to Manhattan to study with me.
Wow.
But every lesson he brought in one of his compositions. Every lesson he brought in one of his compositions.
Wow. Wow.
So I learned a lot just doing that, listening
Uh-huh.
to his compositions and trying to learn them. You know.
Yeah. That's
So
inspiring.
uh,
Sometimes students don't often realize that they inspire us when they're taking care of business.
oh, exactly, exactly. Exactly. So I listen a lot to, like I said, I listen a lot to Gerald. I listen a lot to Sullivan Fortner. I listen a lot to Aaron.
Mm.
So many people,
Mm.
and I learn a lot from all of them.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great. Um, so what's on the horizon for you? What are you going to be end up doing once you get out of your house?
Scream! Oh, I'll be
I'll be
so
right behind you.
yeah, I'll be so happy. Um, I'm thinking about a couple of projects, duo projects actually.
Mm.
With different people. Maybe a duo with the drummer.
Nice.
You know, just duo with the singer.
Mhm.
I mean, all those things have been done before, but I have a friend in Arizona who's written lyrics for maybe 50 or 60 of my songs.
That's amazing.
So I think it might be a nice idea to have some of them sung.
Mhm. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, and not with the idea of I've always wanted to make a record and not worry about whether it sells or not.
Mhm.
you know, if it's just
Here, here.
nice music, nice
Yeah,
music that you like. I'm not trying to be a groundbreaker or
yeah.
anything like that. Just I'm really into music that affects you, music that moves you.
Mhm, mhm,
That's what I want. So I would like. That's one of the things I would like to do. You know,
mm.
a dual project. And the other things I've always wanted to do, I've never had the opportunities to do an album with strings.
Ooh.
You know, so I'm looking at you.
Okay. You got my number. That would be what a joy that would be
Oh, because
for me, for me.
I remember I think you did some of the arrangements. The record I did with Little Jimmy Scott.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
that's the first time we ever worked together separately.
yeah. But those arrangements are so beautiful. So
Oh, thank you.
yeah. So that's something I would like to do.
Yeah, that's wow. Well,
Before I check out.
I hear you. I'm
Yeah.
with you. Well, if I can be in on that, please,
Okay.
whoever's putting it together, they'll get the family discount.
All right.
Oh man. Um, okay, so tell me, we only got a couple minutes left. I want to make sure that I ask you, give me a short list of some of your favorite foods.
They're my favorite food.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you mean specific or just general? I love Italian food.
Oh.
You know, um, at one point, I don't know how it is now, but at one point, it was very difficult to find a bad meal in Italy.
It's so funny to hear you say that because that is my line. My line is somewhere in Italy there's a bad meal.
I haven't found it
I haven't found it.
yet. Yeah, I mean, I remember I love pizza, for instance.
Mhm.
I'm going somewhere in Naples. They had the best pizza I've ever had in my life. You know,
Wow.
uh, I love Indian food.
Ah,
And the neighborhood I live in has a lot of Pakistani and Indian people, so it's all around me, so I can have it
great.
all the time now. You know,
Mhm.
I love Latin food. There's spicy food. I love spicy,
Okay.
but also love some collard greens and chicken stuff like
Yeah.
sweet potato pie. You know,
Stop.
so yeah, that's
And what is your go-to drink? It's 5 o'clock. You're gonna start the evening off just before that meal. What's your go-to drink?
I have a couple, but one is caipirinha.
Katrina.
Caipirinha from
Caipirinha, yes.
Brazil. You know, I love that. And then my son got me into drinking single malt scotch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Your son got you into that.
yeah, because he likes. He loves single malt scotch. For him, he said a holiday would be going to Ireland or Scotland to check out all the different scotches, variety of scotches and stuff.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Wow. Well, there's so much that we didn't even get into, Kenny. I mean, the recordings that you've made, some of your favorite players, just the long list. I'm really excited about, and I love your trio, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I love your trio. Kiyoshi and Jonathan knocked me out together with you. They're right there, killing it. So keep it up. And do you have a website?
I do. I do.
Okay, and it is
Mm.
kennybarron.com.
KennyBarron.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Because I want people to go to your website. I want people to buy your music. I
Oh,
want
thank
people to stay in touch with you that way, so that we can look forward to all those projects that you got once you're out of jail. I mean,
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I'll
Or
be
just,
screaming behind you.
all right.
But thank you for spending this time with us. And if there's anything that you want to share with us that we haven't covered, please tell us what you want us to know?
Well, I think mostly I just want people to come out and when it opens up, just come out and support the music. I think that's one of the most important things you can do. Come out and support the music. Buy
Beautiful.
records and go hear live music when you can.
Beautiful. That's the best thought we can take with us as we end this little session. Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you, John. All
All
right.
right. We'll talk soon, I hope.
All right. Take care. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye bye.